the guy that I bought it from, he had not replaced the impeller in this while he owned it, so not sure if the previous owner had done anything. So I'm gonna be taking the lower unit off of this, but first I have to take the cowling off of it, which comes off pretty easy, and I have to pull this pin right here out of here to get this shaft that goes down through the outboard down to the gearbox here down here, and I'm gonna have to pull that loose. So this has to come out to make it free so it can go down. So I have to get this cotter pin out, and I'm gonna just see if I can do it on camera, but if not, I'm gonna have to put the camera down and yank this sucker out of here so I can pull this pin out. I have to rotate it enough. Okay, I have a feeling I'm not going to be able to do this with cameras rolling. I pulled that loose tooth, and now the pin is free to pull out. So I have this in forward gear as far back as you can so it's more prominent, and then I'm gonna just push this out and see if I can pull it all the way. I might not be able to get it all the way out there, but I'm gonna get this pin out, and then I'll go down to the lower unit and show you what I got to do next. Okay, so I can't really push this pin out of here until I get this heat sink out of here. So there's a bolt at the top here that I'm gonna take out with a 10mm wrench. I'm gonna just take that out so I can move this heat sink out of the way. Okay, so this has only been a slight pain in the ass. I think I might have this loosened enough to move this out of the way. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's pretty bright out here. Okay, got that bolt out. I'm gonna put it in here, try to keep my things in my tray here. Always remember to keep a parts tray. So now this can move out of the way. This is just a heat sink, so it's not a really important component. I mean, it's a heat sink, so it's important, but you can just move it out of the way. It's just enough to get this pin out. So I'll show you pulling this out. So now that's out. Okay, now we're going to take that over to here. We're going to remember to put this cotter pin right here, there. And then the next place we got to go is we're going to take our 10mm and we're going to come down here, and I have a bolt here, a bolt here, a bolt there, and then two on the other side. And this lower unit should then come off. Okay, so I'm going to start with this one. Get that loose. Then I'm going to just go around and loosen all these. Once you get near the last one, you want to make sure that you don't let this fall out, so you want to have a hand on it. Okay, there's one on the end here. They're all coming loose pretty easily. Makes me think maybe they did some service on this recently. And then these two right here I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna show you every wrench turn. I'll show you when I start to lower this. Okay, so I have the very last bolt I'm pulling out of here. and I'm showing you right before I let go of it because I don't want to be doing this with one hand. As you can see, it's starting to pull away right here. So I'll show you when I get the bolt out, and I'm going to gently lower this down, straight down. You want your outboard to be more or less vertical while you're doing this because you just don't want things to fall apart. So when you lower this, lower it gently, but it's just gonna hang here, okay? I'm seeing some grease there. You know, look in here to see how things look, you know. This doesn't look too rusty. It looks like it's just got some gunk on it, but it doesn't look too bad. I'm going to take these off. We'll pull this pump housing off, and then we'll take a look at our impeller. Now, like I said before, I'm not going to show you every single wrench turn, but this is once again a 10mm bolt. I'm just keeping these, sort of trying to keep an eye out for, okay, here are the ones that hold the lower unit to the rest of the outboard. This one goes to the heat sink. Sorry, this one goes to the heat sink. These 5 go to the lower unit, and then there's the pin. So these ones are going to be the darker ones, and I'm going to take my 10mm and just start unscrewing these. But I'm not going to show you all of that because I just don't want to do it all with one hand. Another thing you might want to do is just to make sure that this thing maybe has some support underneath it, just so it can't keep swinging. You know, I'm not too worried about the cowling on this because it's so old, but you could put like a little, you know, you could take some baling wire and wrap it around, just to kind of hang it from it. I'll show you in a bit what the impeller is looking like because I have no idea. So as I'm looking at this little housing right here looks like it's separate from the rest of it, so I'm not going to take these ones off. I'm just going to take out these. I cracked them all loose, and I'm just unscrewing them by hand. So we're going to crack this and lift this up. Oh, and look at that. Look at that impeller. There is no impeller left. That is an X impeller. It looks like, if you look inside of here, one of the fins is actually inside of the output that would go up the shaft here. So even if this was in some way pulling any kind of water, it would be blocking right through there. So it doesn't even, I can't even tell what's going on here. Looks like the gasket might be still in okay shape, but that impeller is toast. That's really informative why the water was coming up now. See, that's why I was doing this inspection. So now I'm going to go look at my service manual, find the best impeller to go into this, and I'll probably buy that and the new gasket. I'm going to clean this all up, and that might be another video. So I can guarantee you this isn't what this is supposed to look like. I'm a little concerned that there might be some of these impeller fins somewhere in the cooling system, possibly sucked up into the water. Don't know for sure without pulling it all apart, but I might be able to backwash some of it to see if I can get it to be flushed out through the bottom of the where the lower unit comes through. But either way, right now I'm looking at my Honda BF75. It's the original shop manual for this. I highly recommend, if you're gonna put the money into buying a really expensive outboard, to buy one of these. The date of issue for this shop manual is 1984. I was 10 years old. So here is what the impeller should look like, and here is what mine looks like. None of the fins, but a partial fin remains. Now, I'm trying to find part numbers on here, and I'm not necessarily finding that on this page. But when I figure it out, I will let you know. Okay, I got this lower unit off and have it in a vise. I took this part off, and when you look down into here, you can see all the fins from the impeller as it exploded. So make sure to get those out of there before they clog up something else. See if there's any more. Is that? Huh. Okay, so I lined up the slot of this impeller with the key that's on the side of the pinion shaft here, and you want to grease this pinion shaft up at several places where it's gonna meet up with the gears down here, and up here where it's gonna slide in to the upper unit. I'm gonna put these guys back together and bolt them down before I take them back out to the outboard here. Before you put this back on, you want to make sure that this pump housing is clear of any fins from the exploded impeller. And then you're gonna just lower this down. Okay, to get this impeller, this rotates clockwise, but you're going to want the impeller fins to be going what would seem counterclockwise. So one way to do that is to take a zip tie and push all the impeller fins in the direction you want it to go, and then tighten it. And then this will make it easier for this guy right here to lower down on it. Okay, if you look above, see how they're all pointing that way? That's how you want it to be. So this rotates this direction, clockwise, but the impeller fins point the opposite direction. And I know this because I looked at it inside of my shop manual. I'd advise to put a little tiny bit of like soapy water, or even a little maybe even marine grease, slight film of it, just so it slips over this impeller easier. Then you're gonna lower this and push down on the zip tie till it gets to the bottom, and then you can just cut that and then push it the rest of the way. Once you get it down, you want to make sure the inserts are in here, and you just get one bolt in to just kind of hold this in place so you can get the rest of them in. Get these inserts in. Next thing you do is you just hand screw all these in. Just get them all hand tight with your fingers. Don't use a wrench yet. Just going to get them as far down as you can. Make sure the inserts are in these, and then just hand screw these ones down too. You want to hand tighten them. Make sure they aren't tearing up the gasket. Sorry, it's going out of focus here. Okay, so everything's hand tightened. So now you're gonna take your 10mm and you're gonna tighten this till it's kind of snug. Then you're gonna jump over to here, diagonal. You can call it a star formation. And then you're gonna jump over here. And you make that snug. Just snug, not real tight. Then you're gonna come over here and make that snug. Okay, that's snug. So now you're going to go back to here and tighten it pretty tight. And you're going to do the same with this. Tighten it pretty tight. Not that it's like ridiculously tight. Then you're going to tighten that pretty tight. Then you're going to tighten that pretty tight. You might see a little bit of grease squooge out. A little grease squooge out, and that's okay. Then you're going to make this snug. You're going to make this snug. Then you're going to tighten it. Okay, it's pretty tight. But not too tight. See, when you do the star formation, it loosens up the other sides. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure that this can go around. Okay. There's definitely some friction now that the impeller's in there. I don't know whether that matters or not, but we're gonna tap this down just a little bit. Just make sure it's not too hard. Now we're going to take it out of the vise and we're going to carry it over to the upper unit of the outboard. Okay, this isn't going to be easy to do with one hand, so I'm going to show you. This is the gear selector. It's going to go down in this little vat of gear oil. I'm gonna have to probably stop it and use both hands, but just kind of let it find its place. Okay, that's what it'll look like. Then you're gonna lift this up and you're gonna have to line these guys up with the tubes that are up there. It's hard to see, but get them all lined up and then you can push it up. And then make sure to have one of these bolts so you can set it in place. Okay, I pushed that up and I set that with that one bolt and just hand tighten it until you can get the rest of the bolts in. Okay, so I went around and I just hand tightened everything. Just by hand, not anything with a wrench yet. And just like the pump housing, you're gonna do this by, this one needs to go a little bit more. You're just gonna snug it, and then you're gonna go on this side. You're gonna snug this, just this star pattern. Snug. 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 You're gonna go over there, and you're gonna go over here. Then you're gonna come back to this one and tighten it. Then you're gonna come over to this one on this side and tighten that. Then you're gonna tighten this one. And this will pull it all together. Then you're gonna come over here. It's hard to see this one. You're gonna tighten that. Then you're gonna tighten this one. And you're gonna come back and just check these ones are tight still. And back over to here. Might have to feel for it if you don't feel like. Oh, there we go. And then this one, and that should be all tight. We're not done yet. Now remember this guy? This needs to go back into the linkage in here. I'm going to rotate this so I can see. And you're going to push that down, and then you're going to push this linkage through so you can shift the gears. So got to get this pin through. Remember, you have this heat sink is still out of the way, and then you're going to drop this down into here. Okay, got that back. Phew. Get my pan up a little higher here. Then we're going to have to try to get that lined up so we can get this pin in there, and then we got to put the cotter pin in there. For this kind of work, if you're doing any kind of work on motors, it never hurts to buy some of these bent needle nose, because they can get into situations where your other ones can't and your fingers can't. I'm gonna have to put this down. I'm not gonna record all this because it's just gonna be too hard to try to do this and get into these little nooks and crannies with this camera while I'm holding it with one hand. Okay, I was able to get this clevis pin through the hole, and then I had to hold the shifting linkage forward so the hole would line up, and then I was able to push that through, and you can see the hole where the cotter pin goes through. And I'm gonna replace this one because this one looks pretty shot. It's often good to just get a new one. Okay, I got this new one, and I'm gonna use this needle nose to try to put it through the hole. I'm gonna push it through there, and then I'll rotate it and then try to bend it around so it won't come out. But you don't want it to get, you don't want it to mess with the throttle linkage or any of that stuff. Well, that wasn't nearly as hard as pushing that clevis pin through. And you're gonna bend these over so they can't. You're gonna just pull them back and split them, just so it can't pull back out again. Pull it as tight as you can, and then split these apart. And I'll show you what it looks like because it's hard to do. Okay, you see how I split that? Then you just bend them over, and that keeps it locked in. So now this can change gears again. See? You can change gears. It has a little tough time doing the reverse sometimes, but that more or less will do the trick. So the final thing to do is get a bucket of water, put it underneath here, fill it up at least a little bit past here, so that intake can get the water, and we can see if the impeller will suck it up into here. And then if everything works fine, we'll see water start coming out of the side here. This is the telltale or the tattletale, depending on who it is. So right here you'll see water coming out if it works. Oh, and don't forget to put this heat sink back in. You're just gonna screw that into the block and just make sure it's not rattling around in there. I'm filling this up, and like I said, we want to get above here, just about to this line right there, before we fire it up, because we want water to be able to circulate into here so it doesn't overheat. These old Hondas, they have these like really special muffs that you can put on the very back of that one intake. Most muffs are just go on the sides where the ports are for the water, but these don't have that. So I just usually, instead of buying one of those fancy things, I usually just fill up this bucket like this. We're almost there. Let it fill up a little further. The water might not go through right away. We'll find out whether I did this right. Give your gas a little pump, and we're going to put it in neutral. Ooh. As soon as I fired it up, it's a little smoky because there's some grease and stuff in there, but immediately started spitting water. That's good. So that worked. As soon as I started it, the water started coming out. I could see there was a little bit of water going through the manifold. Just changing out that impeller helps that water to get through the system, and pulling out all those extra fins that had fallen into the intake will keep it from going up into the motor and burning up or just clogging up everything. So it's pretty cool that something like this Honda that was made in the early 80s has made it all the way to 2024 and still runs and sounds really good. You just have to do some maintenance on it and know how to take it apart and fix it. And a lot of that you can do by watching YouTube videos like this, or get yourself a Honda shop manual, or like the Mercury over there, get yourself a Mercury manual. And it's surprising how good those 1980s and 1990s era manuals can be. So thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe if this helped you out.